Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today I'll be talking about Sam Darnold and potential trade destinations in the offseason. But before we get started, just wanted to mention that you can follow along with me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. If you haven't already, please make sure to check out the Just Jets podcast. New episodes drop every Wednesday, so check it out wherever it is that you get your podcasts. You can call in and leave me a question also. And last but not least, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Matt O'Leary NY. The link is in the description down below. Bonus content there, so if you're interested, check out the link. All right, so it was definitely interesting today not watching New York Jets football. I had Red Zone on for the 1 o'clock games, then decided, you know what, I'm going to record this video today. Might as well get some content out for you guys. So it was a little bit of a relaxing day. So let's talk about Sam Darnold, because the chances of him being the quarterback on this team next year are very, very, very slim. Now, going into this year, that was not my expectation. I was not a Sam Darnold hater. I am still not a Sam Darnold hater. I thought he looked okay in year 2, potentially going to take a step in year 3, and unfortunately, he has stepped backward. Now, you can talk all day long whose fault it is and whatnot. I would argue that a main chunk of the reason is on Adam Gase, the people around him in terms of the weapons, the offensive line, and him. He just frankly has not been good enough in some areas. And for all those reasons, the Jets are sitting at 0-8 right now, and they are on a fast track to the number 1 overall pick, which would be selecting Trevor Lawrence. Worst case scenario, this team picks 2nd overall, and I think you're going with Justin Fields at that point if it's between Sam Darnold and Justin Fields. And we'll start by talking about the reason why the New York Jets will be taking a new quarterback outside of what you really think of Sam Darnold, if it's his fault or not. Part of it is the contract. So he would need, or the Jets rather, would need to decide if they want to pick up his 5th-year option for the 2022 season after this year. So based on his play through the first 3 years, you're going to say no. I don't want to pay him $25 million or whatever it is. It's around $25 million for his 5th year. That doesn't make any sense. So what you'd then do is you would get in a Kirk Cousins-like situation where you have a quarterback on his 4th year, which is fine. But then after that, it's like, okay, well, now what's the plan? Because do you franchise tag him after that? It starts to become expensive. So what you're better off doing is restarting the clock with an elite level quarterback prospect, because Darnold has probably been broken here for the Jets. Now, can he get his career back on track elsewhere? Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think he can. And that's why I think the Jets will trade him. So let's run through. I have 5 teams that I want to talk about. Some a little bit more likely than others. One dark horse, but let's just jump into it. My first team is the New Orleans Saints. Now, if you look at their cap situation for 2021, it's a disaster. They're projected to be $94.5 million over the cap. Now, you could cut Drew Brees and save a little bit of money, and you would still need a ton of work to do on top of that. And that's if Brees comes back, maybe he retires. But even if Brees does stay, Sam Darnold is a higher ceiling project than Jameis Winston. Jameis has thrown a million turnovers in his career. Not that Sam Darnold's been turnover free, but he's younger. He's a little bit more raw, and I just don't see how the Saints are going to be able to retain Drew Brees and Jameis Winston for next year. I think Jameis is probably going to go somewhere else and get another shot to restart his career. But that would be an interesting project. And you look at that roster, there's a lot of really intriguing pieces. Michael Thomas is an elite wide receiver. Alvin Kamara is elite running back. And Sean Payton is a great head coach. So even if they do trade for him, which I'm assuming you're getting a 2nd, maybe a 3rd round pick for Sam Darnold in a trade. That's after you take your quarterback, of course, whether it's Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. Then I would think that Sam could either start for them in 2021 or 2022 and be in decent shape there and save you some money. So the Saints, from Darnold's perspective, would be a great fit, and I could definitely see some interest there, again, because the cap situation is really tough for that team, and a lot of teams are going to be strapped for cash in 2021. So add the Saints to the list of teams who could call about Sam Darnold. My second option is the Chicago Bears. Mitch Trubisky is clearly not the answer. They benched him for Nick Foles, who is also clearly not the answer. Nick Foles away from Philadelphia is not good. We have seen this with Jacksonville. We've seen it with Kansas City. We've seen it with the Bears now. they don't have a future quarterback on their roster, and they are too good to be in the running for a top pick in this draft. They are probably a borderline playoff team, so they're going to pick probably anywhere from 15 to, I'm going to say 25. I don't think they make it much further than that, but let's split the difference. Say they're picking 20th. The likelihood of you landing a franchise quarterback at that spot, probably slim. So would you rather move a second or a third and pick up a guy who maybe just needs to be put in a better situation? I could definitely see that working for Chicago. Like I said, they aren't that far off. This is a really good roster. Their quarterback play has just been terrible. So if they believe, and I don't know what Chicago's front office believes, but maybe they do, that Sam Darnold could be revived, and there is a lot of talent there. Remember, Sam is just 23 years old. Then maybe they take a flyer on him. So add them for team number 2 to my list. Team number 3 is the Indianapolis Colts. Kind of the same situation like the Bears. So the Colts are going to be a borderline playoff team this year, probably picking somewhere between 15, 20 in that range. And Phillip Rivers is not under contract for next year. Probably too good for a top-tier quarterback prospect. So if they are willing to move a second-round pick or a third-round pick, whatever it is, I think it's probably going to be closer to a second-round pick for Sam Darnold. That could be a really good situation for him there. We saw Jacoby Brissett have success with Indianapolis, limited success, but a decent amount of success. And I don't really think Jacoby is on the same kind of talent level as Sam, and I think they could get a lot more out of him. Great offensive line, some nice weapons. They're a team that's on the rise, and that would be an intriguing piece. Maybe they bring back Rivers for one more year on a cheaper deal, and they roll with the two of them, and Darnold's like the project kid. But I could totally see the Colts being in the mix. Don't be surprised if they call Joe Douglas on draft day. Coming in at number 4 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They also have their problems with the cap. So they're projected right now to be $20 million over the cap for next year. They would save $19 million if they cut Ben Roethlisberger. Now, there's no guarantee that Roethlisberger's not going to retire before next year. He's getting up there in age. Maybe that's the play. Maybe they keep him. But even if they keep him for 2021, that's his final year under contract. You want some young stability behind him. Mason Rudolph isn't that guy. Like, we know the future quarterback is not on the roster. Maybe they want to move for Sam Darnold and let him sit behind Ben for a year and then hand over the keys to him. They are really, really good right now. They're playing right now. They're undefeated. They're playing the Cowboys as I'm recording this. But that would be an intriguing option for a long-term, like a project kind of a guy. Maybe he doesn't play in 2021 for them. Maybe he would sit behind Big Ben, like I said, for a year as they try to go all in. And then when you move on from Ben Roethlisberger after 2021, it could be Sam Darnold's chance to prove that he could do it. And that's a great situation. It's a great organization. They have some nice weapons on offense. They're a really, really good defense, well coached. That would be a great place for Sam Darnold. And coming in at number 5 is my dark horse team, the Carolina Panthers. Now, I know what you're saying. Why the Panthers? All the other teams are like teams on the rise, teams who are good with older quarterbacks, but I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is a long-term solution in Carolina. Now, they're playing over their heads. They're 3-6, but I think they're a team who's probably going to play themselves out of the top 10 or pretty close to out of the top 10. There's a lot of bad teams in football, and Carolina's been really competitive. And a part of me would really like to see Sam Darnold with Matt Rule, potentially Joe Brady if he stays and doesn't get a head coaching job, and Robbie Anderson. That would be an intriguing one to me because on top of Teddy not being the long-term answer, he's fine as a stopgap piece. They could both be on the roster in 2021, but then the Panthers would save $21 million if they cut him before the 2022 season. So maybe you have them battle it out for 2021. If it's Teddy Bridgewater that wins the job, so be it. You let Sam sit behind him, and that's a really good backup. And if for whatever reason that Teddy Bridgewater isn't playing good, you could put Darnold in there. If Darnold plays well, then okay, fine. You could have Bridgewater be the backup before Sam Darnold has to get paid going into his 5th year. And then you move on from him, and then Sam could be the guy from 2022 and beyond. Wouldn't that be something after everything we thought in 2018 going into the 2019 season when the Jets had Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson, and it looked like in January of 2019 the Jets were very close to making Matt Rule the head coach? Wouldn't it be something if the three of them reunite in Carolina and could have some success there? That would be so Jets. So that's my dark horse team for the 5th option. So just to recap quick, I think the Saints, the Bears, the Steelers, the Panthers, and the Colts. All those 5 teams, I know I did it out of order there, but those 5 teams in particular I think could be destinations for Sam Darnold. Let me know in the comments down below where you think Sam Darnold can and should be traded to. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I will talk to you next time.
Wow.